Hi, this is Terry Bach, and welcome to the It's My Time Now mini summit. So, I've put together this summit to explore how to have hope during the pandemic. I know that many of us are just tired. We're so weary about all these constraints that we've had put on us, and we've been doing it for 2 years now. So, it's easy to lose sight of our dreams, those dreams that we had before COVID, maybe. And so I have brought together experts who can talk about their own experiences with themselves, with their clients, to talk about this topic of how to keep hope alive during these times. Today, I've invited Tracy Hoth as our expert. And Tracy has been a professional organizer for 14 years and has helped hundreds of women simplify and organize their homes and their offices. As a certified life coach, she also coaches clients around how to combine practical organizing strategies with transformational mindset tools. I can't wait to hear about this, to create the organized life that they've always wanted. So, welcome, Tracy.
Thank you, Terry. Thanks for having me.
I'm very happy to have you here. So, where to begin? So, I know that we've all seen these extremes of people who have clutter, and we've all seen the hoarder shows on TV, which I'm sure you hear a lot about. But when you say clutter, what does that mean to you?
I love the definition of clutter as being delayed decisions.
Ah,
So, anything you see, if you look around right now, even, and you see something in a pile, you can even ask, have I delayed making a decision? Is it there because I didn't decide to put it away, or maybe it doesn't have a home, so I didn't make a decision about where it's going to live. So
interesting.
anything that's a delayed decision. So clutter doesn't become about, I'm a terrible person because I have piles. It becomes about, oh, I just didn't make a decision about that. It's just some decisions I get to make.
I like that. I really like that. So you mentioned, or we mentioned in your bio that you use some transformational tools. Can you
Yes.
talk about that a bit?
Well, I'll start with the story of my most recent client. Her thought was that she didn't have time.
Mm,
Now, how many people can relate to that?
yes.
She literally doesn't have time. And she told me all about her responsibilities and her full time job, and she's a caregiver and all of that. She really believed it, and she could prove that it was true. So, one of the things we did, and she believed also that you had to have a big block of time to get organized. So,
Right.
when you don't have time, you sure don't have a big block of time.
Mm-mm.
And so we just used the tool of looking at our beliefs and then kind of like a bowl of spaghetti where you're loosening each belief up and kind of trying to pull it out and loosen it up. And what if it's not true? What if organizing doesn't take a big block of time?
I love that.
Her other thing was, I'm exhausted. When she does have time, she's exhausted. What if organizing invigorates you? What if it energizes you instead of exhausts you, like you think you don't have the
Right.
energy for? So, kind of looking at what we believe and loosening those thoughts, and possibly even trying out the idea of a different thought, a new belief that we could have about it, and we could test it out, try to find some evidence for it, and then go from there.
I love that analogy of a bowl of spaghetti. Yeah, that's great.
Loosening out each
Yes.
noodle. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because we do. I look around and I have clutter where I work, especially in my home here. And yeah, it's like, I don't feel like cleaning that up. What's the point? It's going to be back there again tomorrow. Um,
There's a belief right there.
exactly.
Yep.
Yes. And so you would point that out to me, what the belief really is going on. And Oh,
Yeah, it's great to unpack that. Let's see what it is. Because it's just a thought that we have, and a belief is a thought that we've thought a lot. So we believe that it's
exactly.
true.
Right.
Yep. And
Yes.
and so unpacking that, having someone be able to see your mind and what you're thinking and believing is super helpful. It helps you realize, oh, like I just really did think that was true.
Exactly. And you're to your point of it taking not taking much time. I have a short story. I went to Italy a few years ago now, and I had two roommates. One of them is an organizer. And the other one was a total disaster as far as her cleanly or not cleanliness, but her clutter.
Right.
And I was kind of in the middle. So organizer Adrian is in the middle room, and I would walk into a room, and it's like, oh my God, does anybody ever live here? Because you could tell she really thought out what she packed for the trip, and her closet, everything had its place. I mean, I really envied her because I'm like scrambling to find things in my room, and I'm sure Janet, there was no hope for her to ever find anything in her room. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is how it could be. And it actually takes, once you train yourself,
Mhm.
it takes so much less time to find things and keep them organized.
Well, I love that you said train yourself because it's
Mhm.
true. It's just a skill that we haven't practiced.
Exactly.
And so we need to be in a place or a situation where we practice those skills and learn them first of all if we feel
Right.
like we don't know them, and then practice them. The other thing I wanted to point out that you said was those three different types of people. And I want to say all of them can have, no matter what your clutter tolerance is or no
Mhm.
matter what your surround, I mean, you can have a beautiful life. So people a lot of times
Absolutely.
think that they have to be organized, that it's something they should do, that it's
Mhm.
better there. No, I feel like anybody can have a great life. It's only if you want to. If you, like you just said, you
Right.
saw her
Yeah,
room and you were like, "Oh, I want that." Then
exactly.
that should be the motivating reason. I'm not reaching my goals. How can I put some of those
Yes.
skills in place to
Mhm.
to be better at that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Or
love
to
it.
live the life I really want to live
Yes.
instead of living in clutter. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I tend to clutter in pieces. I like, for the most part, my place is clean or not uncluttered, but you can tell where I work
Yes.
because I've got papers all over the place on the floor and all of that stuff, which, yeah, is
Yeah.
really,
And being organized is just knowing what you have and being able to find it when you need it. So it doesn't mean it
yes.
necessarily has to look a certain way, but if you know what you have and you can find it when you
Mm,
need it, or the people in your home can also
right,
find it when they need it, then
right.
that's what being organized is. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you could have piles and you still could find it when you need it,
Hmm.
but are you really able to? And is someone that came into your office able to find what they would need when they needed it?
Yes to the first one, no to the second. I basically kind of know, okay, this pile's for this pile's this, and I know that. But if somebody else tried to find anything, no, they wouldn't be
Yeah.
able to. Not at
Mm-hmm.
all. So how do you feel hope? Since that's kind of our theme here, when you have a lot of clutter.
So I've been thinking about this a lot. And hope is a feeling. We're talking
Mm-hmm.
about it being a feeling that we have, hope, that's going to come from thoughts that we have.
Mm-hmm.
And so, how we feel hope is first understand what we're thinking now that's creating defeat or unbelief or overwhelm in order to change that to
Okay.
feel hope. Does that make sense?
It does. So can you give an example?
Well, yeah, let's use the same example. So the woman who thought that she didn't have time and that organizing needed a big
Mhm.
block of time. We saw that she thought that and she felt overwhelmed. She felt defeated before she'd even
Right.
done anything. So, what I saw in her that sparked hope was having an expert there with beliefs that it's possible, beliefs that they know the solution to your problem.
Right.
And so, for a time, maybe we have to borrow those beliefs. Like she thought, well, Tracy believes that I can get organized. She believes she can lead me there.
Mhm.
She knows she has the solution. So that gave her hope. And when she left our very first call, her thought was, I have a plan. And I could see the shift in her energy
Okay. Interesting. Yeah.
that her belief then, I have a plan. I know exactly what I need to do when we get off the phone and what I need to do this week. And that gave her hope.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
When you
And it
think
was,
of it in the bigger picture too, people, talk to their friends or they have a coach or a therapist or whatever. And if
yes.
that person can give someone hope, whether it's your life dreams or, getting rid of clutter or, whatever the topic is,
Mm-hmm.
can also hold that space for you to have hope as well.
Yes. It even makes me think of when my husband fixed the dryer. Like he watched a YouTube video. So knowing there's an expert there that does it, he even made a
Right.
video on how to do it. Like it gives you hope that, okay, I could
Exactly.
do it. Like I'm smart enough to be able to watch this video and follow the steps.
Maybe. Yes.
If I wanted to.
Exactly. Exactly. Yes. So, um, I know one of the things, I mean, we heard about a lot of things, but during this pandemic, it seems like a lot of us have these big expectations for ourselves. Like,
Mm-hmm.
um, I'm going to get myself organized, or I'm going to get my whole house organized, or I'm going to do all these things I said I didn't have time for, or whatever, but they didn't happen. Right. And so now, often people are feeling guilty or they're depressed about it or they've lost their hope or whatever. So how do you help with that?
And isn't that so true? I've
I
talked to
know.
so many people and they're like, I knew I was going to get organized.
Yes.
Even if it wasn't the pandemic, someone that stopped working full time, they stayed
Right.
home and they thought, well, now I'll have time to get organized. And
Yes.
so that's what's so fun to see is it doesn't matter the circumstance, like if we're
Mm-hmm.
working, how many hours we're home or not home, that it really is creating a plan. It's using the mindset tools like just knowing what you're thinking and believing, but also then following the practical steps of organizing, constraining it down to one area. So we're going to work on one area, we're going to practice planning ahead, and then we're going to use the tools, watch our mind as we do it, and then learn
Okay.
from that, and then choose another area to work on.
Okay. Are those the steps that you usually take people through?
Yes. Well,
Okay.
in Organized Life Academy, we constrain. I think constraining is the big first key, maybe, is choosing one area to work on and going to the
Sure.
end of that area. Um, and then following the steps. Yes.
And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where I know that's where I get caught up. And I think probably other people do too, is um, we start working in this one area and then we go into a different area and then we start working in that area. And pretty soon the whole house is a mess. Um, and we haven't ever finished that first area. So, how do you deal with that?
Well, and that's where we just stay on that one area. I mean, decide what you're going to do ahead of time. Like, I'm going to do
Mhm.
this and this in that area, and I'm going to finish that and then move to the next space.
So,
But
really having a plan.
yes, having a
Yes.
plan. And you can base your plan on your calendar. Like, if you're busy that
Mm,
month, then only choose two things to do in that area. And you're
right.
further along than if you thought you were just too busy to begin with and you didn't do anything. And then you have confidence like, I decided I was going to do two small things and I did two small things. And now the next
Hmm.
month I can look on my calendar and maybe I'll have more time that month or a big weekend or, a couple hours in the evening and be able to do the next task I want to.
So when you're working with clients, are you going in, well, probably before the pandemic, you were going into their homes, I'm guessing.
I went into homes for probably the first 12 years, and then I started the coaching side of it, and I do a lot online. I
Okay.
still have a couple clients that I go into their
Hmm.
homes. I live in Kansas City, so in the Kansas City area, but
Okay.
mostly it's online. We plan out what area they're going to work in, and we kind of talk about that together. In
Hmm.
the academy, we pick an area each month. And so
Okay.
we work in that area, or people can choose, to continue working in a different area that they have, or, it's open. But then we practice that planning what we're going to do.
Got it. Yeah, which is
Yeah.
probably the key and the hardest part to do at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So have you ever gone into or worked with somebody where their whole house is just clutter?
Yes.
And how do, or I imagine they have some idea of which area they want to start with, like which would be the most important for them to start with.
Yeah, and we talked through that. So just yesterday, I had a brand new client that I was in person with, and we walked through her house. She had just moved a couple months before that, so she wasn't unpacked. And I think she had thought we should start in the lower level, like the basement
Hmm.
area. But after walking up to her bedroom and the two other rooms up near her bedroom, I'm like, this is the area you live in the most. Let's work
Right.
in that area so you can get really excited. You wake up, you feel good because the area around you looks good. You can find
Hmm.
what you need up there, and then we'll go down to the basement and start working. And so she agreed that that would be
Okay.
amazing to be able to get up in the morning, not be
Right.
climbing over stuff. And so we
Especially
kind
when
of,
you're moving. Yes.
yeah. Yeah. So we kind of changed what maybe she had anticipated, but she was excited about, talking
Okay.
through that and deciding.
Okay.
And then the first step is always to sort. So we start sorting. And
I was just going
even,
to ask you because I keep hearing about it from Adrian. I have a bin for this and a bin for this and a bin for this. One is going to the thrift store, one is, keep, and the other's whatever the third one is, throw away
yeah.
things.
Well, and that's what's so fun is even, I stand in front of a project and I'm like, oh my goodness, what are we doing? Like, this is so much.
Uh,
But then I say to myself, Tracy, the first step to organizing is to sort. Just pick up
mhm,
one thing and put it in a pile. And that's it.
mhm.
You just put it in a pile. Here's my shirts. Here's
Right.
office supplies. Here's belts. I mean, that's what we
Okay.
did yesterday in her room and we sorted. Now, if I would have picked up a pair of pants and said, okay, do you want to keep these? Of course, those are my pants. Like, of
Right.
course you'd want to keep them. But once you sort and you see you have 45 pairs of pants, you're like, oh,
Yeah, probably don't need
maybe.
all of those. Yeah.
Then it's easier. So the second step would be to purge, to go back through piles. I
Okay.
like the favorites method where you pick out your favorites, the things that you use, your go
Okay.
to that you pick, to use and that it works and it's not broken. You pick those out first, and then
Mhm.
you can look at the rest of it and say, okay, what do I want to purge from here?
Right. I like that. Didn't think about doing that. I should
Yeah.
have done that before I moved. I dragged all these clothes and now I'm looking in my closet thinking, what was I thinking when I kept that? Whatever.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, those
And
are good.
then the third step's to assign a home. So now
Okay.
that you have what you love, you can decide this is going to live. For her, it was in her bedroom closet. She had really small
Okay.
closets, or this is going to live in the guest room closet, or my dresser, or a shelf. You decide where it's going to live.
Okay.
And the fourth step is to set limits. So, this is what
Okay.
people usually start with. They go to the store and they buy all these organizing products and cute baskets, and oh, this folder and file system will work. But don't do any of that until you get to the fourth step. You know where it's going to live, you know how big of a basket you need, or
Right.
you need shelf dividers, or you need a dresser. Then you can make decisions on what will set the limit, what limit you'll give it with a basket or shelf.
Great idea. Yeah, I can see that people would be, that would probably be the first thing they want to do is run out and buy a bunch of organizing things. And yeah, but you don't know what you need until you get there,
Right. And then
get to that step.
exactly. And shop your house first because in the past you've probably went out and bought those things and when you sorted, you emptied a lot of those things out. So now you have a supply in your own home to
That's a
shop
great,
from.
yeah,
Mhm.
good point. Good point. So if somebody wanted to get organized now, because they're tired of looking at all this clutter and not knowing where things are, how would they start? Where would they start? And how would you help?
Well, and that kind of ties into the freebie, the quick start guide that I
Okay.
will offer them, but it walks you through. So the first step's to kind of see what you believe, like we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
The second step is to constrain and pick an area that you're going to work on.
Okay.
So I like people, look in your house, walk into your house, stand in the areas you use the most. And visibility is important. So, is there something that you see right away? You could start there so that you're motivated. Like you see, oh, look, that countertop's clear, or that little table is cute now that I've
Mm-hmm.
gotten rid of all the clutter. So, pick
Right.
something like that that's maybe visible that you will be
Okay.
motivated,
Or
that's
that
really,
bothers you the most,
that's
maybe.
exactly what I was going to say,
Yeah.
that's really bugging you, that would make you happy
Right.
if it was done, and then you follow the steps. And my steps spell spasm because I think of our house having little spasms because it's full of stuff. um,
Interesting.
or when you have a muscle spasm you can be like, oh, the organizing steps, I remember those. And so then you just follow the steps: sort, purge, assign homes, set limits, and the M is maintain. So when your
Okay.
limit gets full, it's the trigger to go back and maintain and go through the steps again.
Okay. I like that. Spasm.
Yeah.
So you've mentioned your free gift. You want to, well, is there anything any more you want to say about your free gift?
Well, it will walk you through those steps that I said, and it'll have you pick an area that you're going to focus on. It'll have you look at your beliefs and what is possible.
Okay.
There was a girl that I worked with, she's 9 to 12. I can't remember her exact age. But I said, do you think it's possible your room can be clean? And she's like, no, it's impossible. Well, if you believe that. And so we talked about, do you know anybody whose room is clean? And she said her cousin's room was clean. And I said, what might
Mm,
she believe about it? And we kind of looked at, well, what could somebody else believe? And so we looked at that. So the quick start guide kind of walks you through that. You pick an area and then it gives you the steps again. So you have them in front of you and then walks you through all of that. So it's all right there for you, 7 steps that can
nice.
get you started.
Great. And for the listeners, all you have to do is click on the button below this video and it'll take you right to Tracy's free gift, the quick start. Tracy, thank you so much. This is really fun. I
Yeah.
enjoyed learning more about how you do it because I think every organizer is different and has a
Mhm.
different way of working with people. So I like yours. It's more upbeat and doable, I think, than some of the other people I've listened to.
Yeah, I like to try to keep it simple so we can
Yeah,
remember it, but also it is simple. It's just a
it
process
really
of going
is.
through. And I want to
Yeah.
close with the story. The woman
Okay.
that I was telling you about that I worked with,
Mm-hmm.
3 weeks in, she sent me after pictures, and her dining room and the walk in area completely clear from someone who had no time. I'm like, how did you find
Wow.
the time? And the one thing she said that ties in with this hope is she says, now I walk into my house and there's a line of visibility that I have that's completely clean and looks amazing. And she said, I no longer feel defeated when I walk in.
Oh my
And I was like,
gosh.
that right there, if you felt hope every time you
Yes.
walked in because one little area was done, like that's what it takes is just to do that. Start there and then
Mhm.
keep going. It spreads out. It kind of hope seeps into all the other areas, and it's
And
possible.
when you're getting that hope in within your home, it's
Hmm.
out to the rest of the world and that life that you want to get back to or get to.
Yes.
Well, yeah,
I think she knows she can do anything now. Like,
that's great.
she just did that. Anything's possible. Like when
It
we really
is.
constrain and focus on something and accomplish it, like
And
it's
have steps. That's,
yes,
I think,
yes.
those steps too. Yeah,
Yeah.
symbolize it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again. I really appreciate your all your information
Yeah.
um and a big thank you to our listeners too for being here and listening to us. So be sure to watch your email for our next expert who will also be sharing her experiences and her perspective on how to keep hope alive during this time of the pandemic. Bye for now.